Meanwhile, in a dramatic escalation of tensions, India has expelled 6 Canadian diplomats from India, including the acting High Commissioner, Stuart Ross Wheeler. Earlier in the day, it had recalled its High Commissioner and key diplomats from Canada. This after they were named as quote-unquote persons of interest in the killing of the Khalistani separatist leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He was gunned down by masked men outside a Gurdwara in British Columbia in June of 2023. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused Indian diplomats of engaging in activities that he said posed a significant threat to public safety.
The evidence brought to light by the RCMP cannot be ignored. It leads to one conclusion. It is necessary to disrupt the criminal activities that continue to pose a threat to public safety in Canada. That is why we acted, because we will always, first and foremost, stand for the rights of Canadians to feel safe and secure in their own country. We will never tolerate the involvement of a foreign government threatening and killing Canadian citizens on Canadian soil, a deeply unacceptable violation of Canada's sovereignty and of international law.
Moreover, Trudeau also spoke with his UK counterpart Keir Starmer about what Canada called targeted campaign by agents linked to the Government of India. The Canadian police said on Monday that it has significant amount of information on criminal activity being orchestrated by agents of the Indian government. In an official response, India called the allegations preposterous and ascribed them to the political agenda of Trudeau's government. New Delhi highlighted that Ottawa has failed to provide any evidence since making allegations against Indian officials with regards to the murder of Nijjar more than a year ago. This despite multiple requests. Further, it listed multiple instances since 2018 as evidence of Trudeau's hostility towards India. Earlier, India's foreign ministry summoned Canada's top diplomat. He was told that in the atmosphere of extremism and violence prevailing in Canada, the Trudeau government's actions endangered the safety of India's diplomats. The decision to recall its top diplomat and other targeted officials was also communicated. Meanwhile, amid the diplomatic row between India and Canada, the US State Department has announced that an Indian investigation team would travel to Washington, D.C. on October 15th to investigate a plot to kill a US citizen in New York. As per a report published in the Hindustan Times, India has conveyed to the US that it has arrested the person identified as CC1 in a US Department of Justice indictment, which had implicated this person of the assassination plot. And for more on this, WION's Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, joins us live on the broadcast. Siddhant, good to have you with us on the show. What can you tell us about this latest development in the diplomatic rows? And of course, what repercussions, or rather, what reaction do we expect from Canada after this?
Well, the India-Canada relationship have broken completely. We know that India has withdrawn its High Commissioner and, of course, expelled 6 Canadian diplomats, including the top diplomat here who was, of course, summoned yesterday by the MEA. Now, what next for the India-Canada relationship? It is highly unlikely that there will be any improvement in relationship, at least in the foreseeable future. We know that there could be more actions in the offing by the Indian side with the allegations and that press conference of the Canadian Prime Minister, which of course looked like a press conference where there was no seriousness regarding the developments that are happening when it comes to India-Canada relationship. Of course, India has pointed out that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is trying to play around with ties to please his vote bank. And remember, Canada goes to elections next year. So essentially, India has in the past as well pointed to how Canadian leadership has been trying to appease the vote bank. But that, of course, has serious repercussion on the relationship. And we have seen that happening.
Could you also explain to us United States' recent stance here in the midst of the diplomatic row between India and Canada? How does that play out?
Well, essentially, we know that there has been an exchange of information by Canada and United States. In fact, at the yesterday press conference by the Canadian authorities, the police officials said that the Canadian side has been exchanging information with the FBI. Now, we know a similar case in US as well, with which India and the United States have been conversing. But there needs to be an understanding as to how Washington and New Delhi is dealing with that situation. There is a back channel diplomacy that is happening. In fact, even as we speak, there is an Indian team planning to travel to United States, to Washington, to have conversations over that. But in case of Canada, it is completely different. It is an open public conversation that is happening, and a pretty nasty conversation, and that has led to the fall in the relationship between India and Canada.
Thank you, Siddhant, for joining us with those updates. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.